In this video, I will be analyzing these two shows and how their respective animation styles affect how they develop their characters, more specifically the visuals of the characters and how it impacts their characters' development / the viewer's understanding of the character's development. This concept is important to understand because it impacts how we perceive certain character and media as well as their stories and character arcs. In different types of media such as anime and cartoons, how a character is developed will be done slightly differently. Of course, there are many different ways to define a character in a creator's story, since there is no exact method to fully flesh out a character. It will vary depending on who is creating and telling the story. However, with anime and cartoons, there are many overlapping similarities and distinct differences to how this is approached. For starters, the cultural differences in anime versus cartoons heavily impacts the storytelling. Anime is largely centered around emotional expression, human nature, and the intention behind the art form is widely regarded in Japanese culture as a legitimate storytelling vessel. However, in Western media, this is the exact opposite. Cartoons in Western culture have strikingly different entertainment ideals, most notably that cartoons are mostly kids' content. They usually contain episodic humor, moral lessons, and are more focused on comedy. So, how does this affect how characters are portrayed? In both Dandadan and Gravity Falls, the change occurring in the protagonists both happen through the usage of strategic color grading, but how they are visually being portrayed differ. For example, in Dandadan, the two protagonist changes are visually represented through color. Momo, originally presented as a reactive and emotional character, is now being presented as level-headed and calm now that she's fully embraced her spirituality. The colors visually reflect this change as Momo is suddenly bathed in an ethereal blue color similar to that of a spirit. On the other hand, Ken was originally presented as a calm, stoic individual until his change occurred when he became possessed by Turbo Granny. The striking, blaring red colors represent not only danger and alertness that Turbo Granny brings, but also Ken's inner turmoil and anger. He finally expresses his feelings and breaks out of the cool facade into something more raw and emotional. Thus, both these characters are emotionally developed through the usage of color. On the contrary, Gravity Falls also uses visuals to represent a character change, but utilizes a different method. Since Western media is not focused on emotional tales and rather episodic humor, the creators of Gravity Falls utilized a different method to portray their characters. The protagonists, Dipper and Mabel, both have strikingly different personalities, and this is enhanced by the costume design of their clothes. Dipper wears a lot more muted colors such as brown, forest greens, etc. These authorial choices in color indicate to the audience that Dipper is a lot more closed off and judgmental. He will be the logical reasoning of the two twins. On the other hand, Mabel wears bright, bolder, and more vibrant colors to reflect her hyperness, extroverted personality, and overall optimistic outlook. Her bright pink colors also present her as a girly girl, along with other accessories showing her interest in fashion. This is also utilized to defy expectations by the end of the episode when Groco Stan lets the twins choose something. As the director put it, one good way to establish characters and the differences in their personality when you're writing a pilot is to show how different the characters respond to the same situation. So, by presenting Mabel as a friendly boy-crazy girl, it creates an expectation in audiences for her to pick something more feminine. However, she picks up a grappling hook. It's only there to tell you that Mabel's gonna defy expectations and be weird. By visually depicting Mabel as girly and then carry on to contradict that by showing her picking up a grappling hook, it indicates to readers that she is unpredictable. Overall, both series use the method of directly showcasing their protagonists through their cinematography. However, due to their cultural differences, the way in which they approach this is different. Dandadan emotionally develops their characters through striking visuals such as bold colors, while Gravity Falls develops their characters by visually showcasing them through their clothes, actions, etc.